Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, gents. TaikunZ here, and for today's video, I'm going to tackle a long overdue topic which I have been skipping on the past weeks in Japanese Unison League. And it is about the 6-ring enchantments that are currently available in the game. Over the past weeks, I've farmed and improved my account so much that most of the rings are complete. I learned late that the second rings of the extra classes didn't have enchantments yet, but at the least I have my rings nearly complete. Better prepared than ever! So anyway, let's start with a couple of information about certain items. So there were these two missions that were around last week that you can clear if you clear any 30 or 50 quests. So they look like Proficiency Scrolls because they are one. So I'm going to claim them now. And then we can check an ability. And as you can see, that they are for the enchantment. So let's take a look over here. Yeah, it's in the same area. Then let's head on over to enchantments. So here I have Dragon Crush. I enchanted it twice, and it's because I have to illustrate what the scrolls do. So here we see the green and blue scrolls again. Let's start with the green one. So what does the green scroll do? It prevents you from leveling down your enchant if you fail the enchantment. So for example, I failed this 50%. Normally it would level me down to 1. But with the help of the green scroll, you wouldn't level down. So you can't use it on the very first enchant because it's silly, you can't level down to 0, of course. So what does the blue scroll do? So you see here, the red scroll turns 50% to 75%. The blue scroll doubles it. So now it's a guaranteed 100%. So for like low percentage chances, like 30% or something, you can combine both scrolls. But please, for these kinds of situations, don't do this because you'll be wasting the blue scroll, and you don't come with the blue scrolls often. So how do you get more of those? I think they're going to be future rewards in some events, or you have to buy them with IRL money. Or they'll be available as prestige rewards too in some lists. So just be on the lookout for those. So one of the reasons why this video took so long to make, apart from the farming, is that I inputted all the 6-ring enchantments at the wiki. So in advance, even though they're not in global yet, I put the enchantments of all the 6-ring abilities at the wiki, and they are now available to be seen there. So hop on over to the wiki if you want to see this for yourself. Oh, this reminds me that most of the players that I see using the wiki are viewing it in mobile mode, and Wikia, or fandom as they're called now, has a crappy interface for the mobile view. So I highly suggest that you switch to desktop view for like the best experience for the wiki. So let's start with Vanguard. So as you can see here, we got Crystal Blade. So for the enchants of Crystal Blade, we got increased damage ability power and lowered cost. So boop. Here, you see that I input now the stats for the red scroll and the blue scroll. So yeah, you see here in red what changes if you enchant them. So for the colorblind ones that can't see red, I really apologize. But yeah, so as you see here, it increases the ability power. And then I don't have the data yet for the next enchants because that's gonna take way too long if I input like all of them or like check every single one. So in the future, I'll be filling these in once I have like spare proficiency in the Japanese game. So yeah, at the maximum, it's going to be at 110. We started at what? 80, as you see here. So from 80 to 110. If you maximize plus 10. And then the secondary one is lowered cost if you choose this branch. And as you see, we start at 15 and then we end all the way to 10. So it lowers up to 10. And then there's only like 4 enchants to tackle with. So next up, we got Iron Fortress. So as you see here, this time it's lowered cooldown and increased guard damage taken reduction. So let's start with the lowered cooldown. So we start at 7 and then we end at 4. There's only 2 enchants, but as you see here, the proficiency is very expensive. It's 50,000 and then you need 5 enchant jewels. And I figure since it's already like low percentage on the first one, the second one is gonna be lower too. So guard damage taken reduction, it's the damage reduction that gets reduced to your character if you use this ability. So we started at 20%. So it increases up to 40%. So yeah, from 20% it becomes 40%. Oh yeah, there's also the combos. So the combos also change, as with most of the enchants that are already available. So start at 30, becomes 31, up to 50%. Next up, we got Tidal Wave. So Tidal Wave, increased damage ability power, lowered cooldown time. So from 200, we turn into 250. And then yeah, whenever it's like plus 10, it's gonna take this much proficiency and enchantment jewels, not counting the ones in between too. So gotta prepare those proficiency keys. And then as for the cooldown time, from 7, it becomes 5. Then next up, we got Glorious Guard. So for Glorious Guard, it increases the damage received, which is the damage taken by your allies that you protect with this ability, and then increase maximum HP increase, which is the yellow health bar. So as you see here, 41%, and then 51% for the maximum HP, up to 60% and 70% respectively. So this time it's increased durations, so it means the duration of the effect itself. As you see here, it's base at 20%, 20 seconds, and then it increases to 22, up to 40 seconds. So extra 20 seconds, double the amount. Next up, there's Imperial Territory. So lowered cost, lowered cooldown time, from 10 seconds up to 5 seconds. And then lowered cooldown time from... Oh, did I say seconds on the cost? Whoops! I meant to say 5 cost. Okay. For the cooldown time, 40 seconds to 30 seconds. And then for Divine Eye... Oh, if I'm going through these too fast, feel free to pause. So from 5 costs, it becomes 0. Pretty nice. And then the cooldown time is also lowered from 10 to 7. Remember, you can only choose one path, and if you choose the other path, you have to reset it back again, and you lose all the proficiency too. And then there's Glistening Edge. So for Glistening Edge, it's lowered cost, and then increased Unison gauge increase. So from 15, it becomes 10. As for the Unison gauge increase, we start at 3 and 5, then it becomes 4 and 6, up to 6 and 8. And then lastly, we got Sword of Malice. So Sword of Malice, increased damage ability power. Then we start at 220 and 240, and then becomes 224 and 244, up to 280 and 300. As for the lowered cooldown time, start at 6, and then it becomes 4. And next up, we have Val Dragoon. So, let's begin. So, Riot Break, increased damage ability power, and lowered cost. So, we start at 150, and then it becomes 152 all the way to 180. And then for lowered cost, we start at 10, and then it becomes 6, so minus 4. Next, Quick Raid. Quick Raid has increased damage ability power and increased break value. I'd say I would take the break value for this one. So from 160 it becomes 163, up to 200. And then for the break value, from 40 it becomes 43 up to 80, so double. And the next, we got Dragon Tail. So Dragon Tail has increased damage ability power and lowered cooldown time. So it increases also for the combo effect from 110 to 130, we become 111 to 131, up to 130 and 150. And then the lowered cooldown time from 7 to 5. And then there's also Shield Break. Shield Break has lowered cost and lowered cooldown time. I noticed that there's a pattern for the buff kind of like abilities, or like the debuff kind of abilities, that they don't really change that much for the effect, but they will almost always change the lowered cost and the lowered cooldown time. So from 10 cost, it becomes 5 cost. As for the cooldown time, from 40 seconds, it becomes 25 seconds. So Lion Formation has increased duration and lowered cooldown time. So we start from 5 seconds for the Unison gauge gains. It becomes 6 seconds up to 10 seconds. And then cooldown time, from 10 seconds, it becomes 5 seconds. So half. And then we got Stay Call. For Stay Call, it's increased critical hit chance increase and increased critical hit damage increase. So from 30% and 30 for critical hit chance and critical hit damage, becomes 31 up to 50 for both. And then for lowered cooldown time, from 10 seconds to 5 seconds. Then we got Volcanic Nova. Volcanic Nova has increased damage ability power and lowered cooldown time. So we start from 80 and 100, becomes 81 and 101 up to 100 and 120. And then lowered cooldown time from 7 seconds to 5 seconds. Lastly, we got Dragon Ripper. So Dragon Ripper has increased damage ability power and lowered cost. So from 100 and 120, we become 102 and 122 up to 130 and 150. So for lowered cost, it's 14 cost up to 10 cost. And then we got Hawkeye. So let's begin with the Hawkeye. So we got Rapid Fire here. Increased damage ability power and lowered cost. So from 80 and 90 becomes 83 to 93 up to 120 and 130. And then for lowered cost, 5 cost to 3 cost. And then Disarming Trap, increased damage ability power, and then increase critical hit chance reduction and increase critical hit damage reduction. So for increased damage ability power, from 100 becomes 101 up to 120. And then the critical hit chance reduction and critical hit damage reduction, we start at 20% and 20 for both, becomes 21 up to 40. So 40% critical hit chance, 40 critical hit damage. And then Astrolabe or Astrolab, increased ability cost reduction and lowered cost. So from 5 cost and 10 cost becomes 6 and 11 up to 10 and 15. And then lowered cost from 15 cost up to 10 cost. And then we got Sherwood Eye. So for Sherwood Eye, we got increased ability cost reduction as well, and then lowered cost. We started at 5, and then it becomes 6 up to 8. And then for lowered cost, from 10 cost, it becomes 5 cost. And then we got Beautiful Nature. For Beautiful Nature, it's lowered cost and lowered cooldown time. From 10 cost, it becomes 5 cost. And then for cooldown time, from 30 cost, it becomes 20 cost. And then Euphoria. For Euphoria, we got lowered cost and lowered cooldown time. So from 15 cost, it becomes 10 cost. And for lowered cooldown time, from 30 cost, it becomes 20 cost. And then we got Feather Rain. So for Feather Rain, it's increased damage ability power and lowered cooldown time. So we start at 100 and 110, becomes 103 and 113, up to 140 and 150. And then for the lowered cooldown time, from 7 seconds, it becomes 5 seconds. Lastly, we got Sniping Shot. So for Sniping Shot, we got increased attack reduction and attack reduction, and lowered cooldown time. So for both, from 20% becomes 21%, up to 40%, so doubled. And then for lowered cooldown time, from 7 seconds, it becomes 4 seconds. Next up, we got Zodiac. So for Zodiac, we start with Lunatic Ray. Lunatic Ray has increased damage ability power and lowered cooldown time. So from 100 becomes 103, up to 150. Yeah, there we go. For lowered cooldown time, it's 7 seconds to 5 seconds. And then for Seraphic Soul, we got increased def reduction and M-def reduction and lowered cost. So, from 20% base and 30% combo, it becomes 22% and 32%, up to 50% and 60% respectively. So for lowered cost, 12 cost, up to 8 cost. And then we got Siphon. For Siphon, we got increased damage ability power and lowered cost. So, from 140 base and 150 combo, becomes 141 and 151, up to 160 and 170. As for lowered cost, it's 16 cost, up to 13 cost. And then Hanged Man. For Hanged Man, it's lowered cost and lowered cooldown time. Not sure what you can change about Cast Karma. So, those are the only ones that are gonna change. So, for lowered cost, it's cost 20, and then transforms to 15 cost. As for lowered cooldown time, it's 60 seconds up to 40 seconds. And then there's the spell, which is also lowered cost and lowered cooldown time. From 10 cost, it becomes 5 cost, so half. And then lowered cooldown time, from 40, it becomes 30, so minus 10. Next up, Arcana World. Arcana World has lowered cost, and then increased fire, water, wind, light, dark, time, and star elemental attack damage boost. So lowered cost first, 15 cost up to 10 cost. And then the all element attack. This is the weird part. Yeah, I know this is. So they had to prolong this to like plus 10, and then each enchantment is like 0.1. I was like, what? They would do decimals? So instead of like just having a few, they stretch it out to 10, and then like plus 6. So 4.1, 4.2, and then up to 6. Which is kind of weird, because this is like the only instance that it has ever been a decimal. And then for Ancient Spell, lowered cost and lowered cooldown time. From 20 cost up to 16 cost. And then lowered cooldown time from 10 seconds to 7 seconds. Lastly, we got Miserable Burst. Increased damage ability power and increased status ailment resistance reduction. So from 200 base and 220 combo becomes 206 and 226, up to 280 and 300 respectively. And then status ailment resistance reduction, we started at 20 and 30, and then it becomes 22 and 32, up to 50 and 60, respectively. And lastly, we got Archcardinal. So, for the first one, it's Great Arc Heal, and we got increased healing ability power and lowered cost. So from 70, it becomes 100. And then for lowered cost, from 20 cost, it becomes 15 cost. And then next, we got Silver Guidance. So for Silver Guidance, it's increased damage ability power and increased prohibit unison success value. So from 100 ability power, becomes 103 up to 150. And as for increased prohibit unison success value, we start at 60, and then it becomes 62 up to 90, so 90% success value. And then we got Time Shift. So for Time Shift, it becomes lowered cost and lowered cooldown time. 10 cost up to 5 cost for the cost, and then for cooldown, from 30 seconds up to 20 seconds. And then there's Sanctuary. So lowered cost and lowered cooldown time. Starts at 10 cost and then it becomes 0 cost. Oh, this one is nice because it becomes free, but it takes like 10 enchants to get there. And then for cooldown time, from 40 seconds up to 30 seconds. And then there's Divine Affection. Increase maximum HP increase and increase all stats increase. So I'd say I'd take the all stats increase here than the maximum HP increase. But I don't know. It's like a lot of quests lately have like extra maximum HP, so I don't really need this first enchant. So I'd go with the all stats increase instead. So 44%, we start at 40, by the way, up to 100%. And then as for all stats increase, we start at 40% for all stats increase, up to 80%. So that's like instant full stacks minus the buff limit. So next, Holy Circle. Increased percent of maximum HP heal and lowered cooldown time. So we start at 30% for the maximum HP heal. Becomes 31% up to 50%. And then for the cooldown time, from 40 seconds, it becomes 35 seconds. And then Sacrificial Healing. So for Sacrificial Healing, we got increased ability power heal and lowered unison gauge reduction. I don't know about this one. I would probably take the increased ability power heal because the unison gauge reduction, you can simply remedy it by cheering. Then again, all those nullify unison gauge running around. Maybe this will be better, but I would take the ability power heal. So from 70 becomes 72 up to 100. Yeah, that's a strong heal. So for lowered unison gauge reduction, from 4 it becomes 1. So just minus 1. And then lastly, we got Decree of Kakara. So for Decree of Kakara, we got increased damage ability power and increased ability cost recovery. So from base 130 and base 140 becomes 133 and 143 up to 180 and 190 respectively. As for the cost recovery, start at 5 and 8 cost, becomes 6 and 9 cost respectively for the base and combo, up to 10 and 13. And that'll be all for this extra video of a Japanese Unison League update. I should put like the rest of the rings at the wiki, but I'll find some time to do all that. As for the extra rings, expect another video like this if the second rings get their enchantments too. So leave a like if you like this video, come subscribe to the channel for more Unison League related content. I'll be working on the next video right away after I upload this one. So stay tuned for that. This has been TaikunZ, zoning out.